Before we get into this video, I want to make a disclaimer because it's going to be a very important one going into this topic. Floodgates are a super sensitive topic for the community because there's a lot of arguments, harassment, bullying, and also a lot of people slinging names left and right to others on their opinions. Now, a lot of us hate the Floodgates and a lot of us do like them, but nowadays they're more of an end-word piece than anything. And this video is pretty much made because the short I did on May 25th of 2026 talking about the Vanity's Fiend, Majesty's Fiend, and also Vanity's Ruler all should be banned in the future because as decks become more powerful and the game keeps speeding up, these cards are going to become more powerful going in the future. And we could see this with Clown Crew already, being able to get to them as fast as they can because they could draw up to 6 cards during their end phase and be able just to slap a Floodgate to the field for little to no cost because it also triggers their effects to gain additional advantage. And now with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get into the video and talk about Floodgates themselves. The identity of Floodgate has always been in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever since the start, and we can even look back at Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon, with the very first being Dragon Capture Jar, as it affects all Dragon-type monsters on the field to force them into defense position to where they cannot change their battle position. And over the next few sets, we received cards like Messenger of Peace, Imperial Order, and Jinzo to stop spell cards, trap cards, and monsters with 1500 or more attack from attacking. And even over the years, we've seen multiple different type of lingering floodgates and just normal floodgates, like the virus cards where they get to check your opponent's hand, field, and also the next cards that they draw for the next 3 turns, being able to destroy monsters, spells, or even traps depending on which one you activated. And even in past formats like Edison format and prior, you have an option to run Royal Oppression to stop special summoning by paying 800, but this was more of a two-sided floodgate where both players can activate it if they have the life points to spare to stop one side from progressing their board any further. And as of the recording of this video, there's a total of 34 to 35 current forbidden floodgates on the TCG's Forbidden Unlimited list, and players are asking Konami to ban more, like Dimension Shifter, Anti-Spell Fragrance, and even Different Dimension Ground. And looking back over the past 10 to 11 years of the game, we could see that a whole entire shift started with Jin release of Rituals back during 2015 in Necros format. And in recent years, we've seen Konami release 3 more lingering type of floodgates, being the Mulcharmy monsters to replace Maxi. Depending on which one you activate, you can draw a card if your opponent special summons from the banishment or graveyard, from the deck or extra deck, or even normal or special summons a monster from their hand. So relatively, Maxi was broken up into 3 different counterparts that all serve a purpose depending on which format we're in. And right now, Fuelos and Perulia are 2 of the best Molcharmies to use, while Meows is in a back burner for a later date for another format. And outside of those 3, there's more floodgates that a lot of players really want to see banned, like Heatwave, where neither player can normal summon or special summon effect monsters until the end of the next draw phase, but with the drawback, they have to activate it during the start of the main phase 1, or cards like Droll and Lockbird, where it stops both players from searching cards or adding cards from the deck to the hand for the rest of the turn, or even Mistaken Arrest, where until the end of the next turn after this card resolves, neither player can add cards from the deck to the hand except by drawing, making it where searching is cut off. And we've seen time and time again where cards cut off a certain aspect of the game makes it less fun for the players who want to play the game compared to the players who want to just stun out the opponents. Over the years, we've also seen decks be able to use numbered 95 Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter Dragon because you could send copies of Amorphage Goliath or any other dragon and a Arcbrave Dragon to the graveyard, so during the standby phase, you could target a level 7 or 8 dragon monster in your graveyard to special summon it, making it where you could summon out the Goliath so neither player can special summon from the extra deck. And over the past 8 years, we've also seen Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Sphere being used in dragon decks, Dragon Link to Blue Eyes to even Bestial type decks, so they could special summon out the Amorphage Goliath or Sloth from their deck or hand, being able to lock out the extra deck once again. But thanks to Power Patron, they have combos where you can get multiple Amorphages out into the field and in your pendulum scale to do multiple different pieces of interaction. Now, each of them all have the effect of neither player gets special summoned from the extra deck, but the low levels need to be pendulum summoned or flipped face up. But while in the scale, if you control an Amorphage monster, they gain an additional effect. From Goliath being a Macrocosmos to Amorphage Sloth to be a Droll and Lockbird, and also Amorphage Lechery of being an Imperial Order, so neither player can activate spell cards or their effects. And realistically, I do think that the Amorphage monsters have long lived past their prime and should definitely start seeing hits, especially with Amorphage Lechery first. Now, trust me, this is going to be a very important part of the Floodgate discussion, especially with Zena's Deceiving Doll of Maidens, because this card can use a monster from your hand as a link material, and on link summon, this card can send any monster from the deck to the graveyard, or if all materials were on the field, you could send a monster from your extra deck to the graveyard to help facilitate certain combos or even FTKs. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, over the years, we've seen Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal, Lavavel Chain, and Curious the Lightsworn Dominion all banned for a certain reason or another, from either sending Floodgates or even something like Jin Release or Ritual, and even with Curious, sending any card you want from the deck to the graveyard like Beatrice, and you get to return it back to the hand or set it to the field with another effect. Now, this is going to be very important because we currently have combos using Mercurium the Living Quicksilver and Charmer Quartet and Bloom, being able to get to any Floodgate in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But with Zena, you're able to bounce back whatever you send to the graveyard thanks to Firewall Dragon, being able just to target it and add it back to your hand. Or if you have two monsters with the same type but different attribute, or the same attribute but different type, you could reborn them from the graveyard, and many players are choosing to summon out Spell Canceller, and other decks like Ritual of Light and Darkness are choosing to send Pharaonic Advent from the deck to the graveyard because you could summon it back and use its effect to tribute a Fairy, Fiend, or Reptile monster. And in decks like Ritual of Light and Darkness, you have Skull, Archfiend, or Chaos, so you can add any continuous trap from your deck to your hand, but you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn, which is absolutely fine because it's going to be your ending play. And some of the cards players are adding to the hand are Rivalry of Warlord, Anti-Spell Fragrance, Goes and Match, and any other continuous trap that you can think of under the sun. And now we've entered back to the Majesty Fiend, Vanity's Fiend, and Vanity's Ruler type cards where neither player can activate monster effects, neither player can special summon monsters, or your opponent cannot special summon monsters. And over the years, we've seen them pop up time and time again, from True Draco to Drytron, and even recently with Fiendsmith being able to search out Majesty's Fiend, and also just any fairy deck or clown crew being able to draw into all of them as a way to floodgate the opponent on the opponent's turn. Now, we have seen Vanity's Emptiness get forbidden over the course of the years in 2017 because neither player gets special summon, and this is on the lines of Vanity's Fiend himself without a tribute summon and more of a card in a trap card form. Now, over the years, we've seen Konami ban multiple floodgates, from the barrier statues to dimensional barriers, summon limit, Falsodana Pachycephalo, and even Arch Nemesis Protos twice, but it's not really enough to satisfy the hunger of the players who want to see a lot of these floodgates gone, and players also want to see hand traps gone, which is a completely different topic for another day. But recently, people are wondering when Barrier, Statue of the Abyss, and Heavens are going to go, because they prevent players from special summoning either dark or light monsters, depending on which one you have on the field. But these two are the most common attributes in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, where decks like Dark Lord and even Power Patron can use these, because Power Patron is mostly all dark, and Dark Lord can just summon out Barrier, Statue of the Heavens for free. And even with a lot of the removal that we have now, like Fallen of the Virtuous, Illusion Gate, Lightning Storm, and many others, it's still not enough because it's usually backed up by a whole entire board that's currently built to not even be breakable. And in Power Patron, it's going to be a hard time trying to push through that because they can push through a few hand traps and a few type of board breakers. Now that I've gone over a lot of the things that I've had on my mind for quite some time with Floodgates, I just want to talk about them in general. The game isn't what it once was back 20 years ago, where it was a tempo back and forth, where it was a lot of 1-for-1s and different strategies where it was heavy trap card balanced. But nowadays it's more of an adaptive combo stylistic game where hand traps overtook the floodgates, and now the floodgates are being used as end board pieces compared to what they once were. And we've seen Konami change their card design once again, where they're introducing more board breaker style cards to deal with a lot of these floodgates, but sometimes it isn't just enough because they're gonna build a board on top of having that floodgate face down so they can activate it on the opponent's turn, as we've seen time and time again. And reading a lot of the comments from that short that I mentioned at the very start of the video is that a lot of players have a hard time realizing and catching up or adapting that floodgates aren't what they were supposed to be anymore, being a tempo piece, but now they've changed to a end board piece like I stated before. And one of these floodgates happens to be Called by the Grave because it is a card that stops a specific card from being used, like we saw with Prohibition years ago, and we still see play in the modern day because it targets a card in the opponent's graveyard to banish it, and if you do until the end of the next turn, its effects are negated, as well as the activated effects and effects on the field of that monster with the same name, which makes it where when you activate it, that turn and your opponent's turn, neither player can use that card, and then on the following turn, it is alive once again. But we've seen time and time before that Call by the Grave gives insulation through going first combos where they could stop as many hand traps as they want as long as they drew more than one copy. And we've seen it time and time again that this card is a very powerful card, and in the right hands, it can win the games very easily. But over the past years, we've seen more and more balanced floodgates like Superstar Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis, Saint Azamina, and Scareclaw Tryheart, where each of them do something different in their respective regions. Typhon locks out monster effects that are 3,000 or more. You have Tryheart, which is just a weaker Baguska where it changes all monsters to defense position, but it also is unaffected by the activated effects of defense position monsters. And then Saint Azamina makes it where your opponent cannot target cards in their field, graveyard, or banishment, or this card on the field with card effects, and your opponent also takes any battle damage you would have taken instead, which is honestly really neat of a floodgate where it just prevents targeting of the actual opponent's field from their own effects. Now, when you ask me about floodgates in general, this is my honest opinion. It depends on the type of floodgate it is, but a lot of them should be forbidden, while some should be limited, and others should just be at 3, just depending on how powerful they are and what they do to the health of the game. Now, if you ask me, a lot of cards that I mentioned today should definitely be banned, but it's only time will tell on what will happen, what Konami will do. Now, I didn't have motivation to make this video at all until I dueled my friend at the Chaos Origins premiere event because they were running Clown Crew Mitsurugi Runic as a way to deep draw into a lot of their cards and be able to get into a floodgate like Majesty's Fiend just so they could tribute it on the opponent's turn. And he could probably also run Vanity's Ruler and also Vanity's Fiend to shut off the special summoning from the opponent, or neither player could special summon at all, which is absolutely fine because on their turn they could just tribute summon the Vanities away for a Bianca Viso. Now I'm going to turn it to you guys in the comments down below, where I want to see a civil discussion on the floodgate topic itself. Any hate speech, any type of insults, or even harassment will be deleted from the comments, and I'll be eyeing the video as much as I can so I can look at every single comment on everyone's opinion on where floodgates should be in the current game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I hope that this does bring up a very good topic for a lot of players going into the future so they can have civil conversations more instead of just having arguments of, yeah, this card should be banned, and just get into a rude insult. It's more of being nice in a debate than anything else. But anyways, I've been BoltSpider. I hope you guys did enjoy this discussion and a lot of the explanations for why floodgates have changed over the years, and a lot of my opinions on why certain floodgates should be banned, even though I really didn't talk about it much, but it can be really interpreted.
Thank you everyone for watching this video. If you liked it, hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button as well. And to get notified whenever I upload, hit that bell too.
And I do want to thank FGH and Ronald Arnett Jr. 3938
for supporting the channel and becoming a channel member. And if you want to join the Discord server, it is down in the description below of each video. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video, and goodbye.